All right. Hello, everybody. Today, I'm super excited about my guest, Alessia Daniel, and what we're talking about today. Real estate is my world, so I put out a lot of what's going on in the real estate world. But something that's super important and has been on my mind is staying positive while everyone's stuck home. And I got to say, the first person who popped into my head when I was thinking about who can send this message about staying positive is Alessia Daniel. Alessia, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Pete. When you reached out to me yesterday, I was like, yeah, of course I would do that. Like, let's do it.
So super excited. So for the people who might not know you, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about, who you are, what you do for work.
Sure. So like Pete said, my name is Alessia. Pete and I actually know each other from high school, which is pretty awesome. We both went to Saddlebrook High School and then reconnected through his wife, Ashley, who I absolutely just adore and have adored since we met in high school as well. She was a little bit older than me and I always kind of looked up to her, and then kind of came full circle when I had reached out to her to join me on a business venture, just because I always had thought of her as somebody who was just had this like light about her that I loved and I wanted to be a part of as well. So for those of you who maybe don't know me, I am a network marketer. So I'm an independent consultant with a company called Arbonne. So some of you may know of it or have heard of it before. If you haven't, and it's a health and wellness company that just offers plant-based, vegan, non-toxic personal care products and nutrition products. I've been doing that for about 7 years. It originally started as a side hustle for me, just to pay off some student loan debt, have some extra income coming in. Just hearing from so many different people about the importance of having a second stream of income. And so when you're 24 years old, you're not thinking about what a second stream of income even looks like. Maybe it's a part-time job, or maybe you're bartending or doing something like that. So when it was offered to me, I just was like, sure, why not? I'll try this. And it's interesting to see what's going on now with people being sent home or not having income coming in, or their businesses, being forced to close, or the company that they work for being forced to close. So I've been working from home now, working from wherever, whatever you want to call it, for about 1.5 years. And so Pete and I were just talking about how, not much has changed for us. And so I'm really excited that he asked me to hop on here, just because if somebody is struggling that's home, or just in general with this, your mindset has a lot to do with everything, especially with the circumstances that we're dealing with now. So.
Right, absolutely. And I think we both can agree that at times it can be challenging because we don't have a boss that we're reporting to. We don't have an office that we have to be there at 9 o'clock every morning. So we kind of go through some of these challenges on a day-to-day, but there is a big difference between, working from home and then being able to go out and see your friends, meet with clients, do that kind of thing, and having to stay home. So Alessia, let me just kind of ask you, just kind of on that subject, has this really affected your business? How has it affected your business? What are some of the challenges that maybe you've come across? And if not many, that's fine too.
Sure. Yeah. So I've gotten that question a lot just from conversations with people. And the first thing everyone's asking each other is, how are you doing? How is this affecting you? And when people first started to ask me that, I felt a little bit guilty saying, no, we're good. My fiance has an incredible job and company that he's with that's allowing him to work from home. And for me, I built up this business again alongside what I was already doing, alongside having a full-time job, to the point where, I didn't have to work full-time anymore. And so for us, it's been a blessing. It's been amazing in the sense that, these products are, just in general, right? People are running to the store to get food that's not perishable.
Right.
So business has been great. And then just trying to give back to the community where we can, and doing some like donation stuff, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I think, if I had to pick something that maybe was like a struggle or a challenge, is the way network marketing works is you have a team of people. And so not everybody's in the same situation. They're getting sent home from their jobs, they're stressed, they have kids at home. And so for me, the challenge has really been just showing up as a leader and being that voice of reason for them, of like, hey, you can do this. Like, again, this is meant to be a part-time thing, but if it's the only thing you have right now, do what you can. And a lot of people would give a lot to have a second stream of income. You're already a part of that. So just being that voice of reason and that voice of positivity to them, where, I have to do that work first for myself to be able to pour into them. So getting that out of the way and being, all right, do Alessia, do what you need to do, and then let's be there for your team. So
Yeah, and I think that's so important. I mean, I I feel that too. Is so many people want to help in so many ways, but first things first, you got to make sure you're right. And I think we've seen leaders step up, and the people who maybe some people we thought were leaders who maybe are not on that level that we thought. And I just wanted to mention something I think is just a true testament to who you are. And as you said, I don't have to work full time. Now, I know you work full time, you work more than full time. You are like the definition of hustle, but it's just a mentality, right? When you're doing something that you love versus going in and day to day. So, but yeah, same here with me. I mean, again, we kind of run our own schedules. The big change for me has been, do I show houses? For me, I had to make that decision myself because unfortunately, we're not really getting answers from the higher up leadership. And I won't go off on that tangent. But, I've decided, no, I'm not showing houses. I'm doing completely virtual stuff because, I just don't want to put people out there and seeing houses and also put myself and anybody that I know at risk. So, I think that's great. So one thing, and I'm going to share this here, kind of the topic that we're kind of discussing. And throughout all of this, I've thought a lot about people who are stuck at home, people who maybe already have some depression issues now being in a house. We're coming up on a day with a lot of rain. It's just some stuff that can be really hard to get through. This quote has stuck with me quite a bit, and I got to switch my glasses so I can read it, but it's actually by Jim Carrey, who is a very funny comedian. I think everyone knows who Jim Carrey is. And he says, "I believe depression is legitimate. But I also believe that if you don't get exercise, eat nutritious food, get sunlight, get enough sleep, consume positive material, and surround yourself with support, then you aren't giving yourself a fighting chance." And I just think that is such a powerful quote and something to just kind of keep in mind right now.
absolutely. Absolutely. One thing that I'll mention too, and then we can get right into like some hardcore tactical tips that people can be doing now. And I think, first of all, it's perspective. There are some people who are enjoying being home. They are living it up. They are loving it. This is the break that they needed. And, I want to speak to everybody that's watching.
Right.
Like I said, for us, it's not much has changed. I mean, this morning I felt a little bit, a little confined, and I wouldn't even say stir crazy. I just felt like a little bit restricted this morning, and I was like, no, I can still go outside. Like, let me just do that. But one thing that I'll mention just from like a health coach perspective is, and I said this in one of my lives, and I got like so much feedback about it, so I'll mention it here. But when we have like a snow day, and like for us, Pete, like sometimes it doesn't really matter. But
No, it means more people are home to talk to.
right, exactly. But for people that have a 9 to 5 or like a little bit more of a set scheduled job, a snow day is a chance like run to the liquor store and order takeout and get pizza and kind of binge, and just like it's an exciting time for people, and like kids are home from school. And I feel like this is just like the never ending snow day where it's awesome in the beginning and you're like, yeah, we're home and we're going to go to the liquor store and get wine, and I could drink whenever I want. And now we've been home for almost 2 weeks, and it is a real concern of your mental health is absolutely connected to what you feed your mind, what you feed your body, how you treat yourself. And so if that's all well and good in the beginning, but if you continue on that route, you are going to feel the effects of that. And that's where that slump starts to come in, where you're like, I don't feel so good. I'm feeling lethargic. I'm hungover, I don't feel productive. And then when you don't feel productive, you start to feel like a loser, and you start to feel, inadequate. And then that just all creates this whole other mental process of panic and fear. And when are we going to get out of this? Right. And all of that can start with just having this like forever snow day that you're not willing to just stick to something and keep yourself above that.
Right. No, I think that's great. Never ending snow days. Like that's I think almost like a perfect way to summarize it. At first it's great, and then it gets tough. And it makes me think of the book I read a while ago. It's called The Compound Effect. I forget who it's by. Okay, so the
Darren
one
Hart.
thing, the Darren Hart. Okay, yeah. So the one thing I always took out of that, and I always bring this up, is imagine a glass filled with dirty water, and that dirty water represents the negativity, the junk, the whatever your specific junk is. And you turn on a faucet of clean water, and at first, the dark, dirty water gets a little lighter, but as the water continues to run, you flush out all the dirty water and you get the good stuff in. And I think it's important to continue to put the good stuff in regularly. So, do you keep a schedule, now that you're home and kind of quarantined? And what does that kind of look like?
Yeah. So I think there's also a difference of people that have to work from home versus people who have their own business and entrepreneurs. So I'll speak to both of you. Hold on, I think I'm echoing a bit. Okay.
Yeah, that's all right. It came back on. But
I'll speak to both, because when you work from home, you might still have to be attached to your desk and a computer and your Teams or your email and chats and whatever. So there's that, and then there's being an entrepreneur where you make your own schedule and you set your own appointments, and you have to kind of figure it out. So they are very different. So that's why I always feel a little funny when I say I work from home. I could work from wherever. I could not work, if I wanted to. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but so it's a little bit different. So if you're home because your job has sent you home, I would suggest, one, keeping a routine, which you probably may already have because you have set calls or schedules or deadlines, and you have somebody to essentially answer to. But what I find a lot of people end up doing is they're working till 10 o'clock at night, where they don't have that hard stop. They get up from their desk, they go home, they get on the train and continue with their day. So it is okay to have a work-life balance if you're still home. And I think I've been home and hearing Mike on his calls, and his superiors and the leadership in his company are very like, checking in on everyone, how's everyone doing? So at this point in time, I think people are going to be pretty understanding if you're checking out at 6 o'clock and just saying, hey, I got to eat dinner with my family, or I'll catch up on this later. That's one thing. Getting dressed is another thing. Like if you're just laying in your pajamas, you're not going to feel as productive. You're not going to have that same motivation. Still showering, still, if you're a woman, maybe like doing your hair, throwing on some makeup, things that you would just normally do. Is if you were going to work, try to treat it the same way. So that way you have, one, productivity, and two, you have those breaks in between of taking a lunch break, going back to work, maybe going for a walk instead of getting on a train, but like taking a walk before you have dinner with your family. So, utilize the fact that you don't have that commute or whatever it might be, to do the things that you couldn't do before. Maybe you couldn't cook at home and you're always ordering out. So try to see the positives, but if you are working from home, just know that you are allowed to have a work-life balance, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's the same thing like you would be doing.
Right. And I love that. And I love how you said take a walk instead of like your commute on the train. I think that's actually that's a gold nugget. And one thing too, I think, you kind of said never ending snow day. And if you continue to take those calls late at night, or you're checking your emails before you have a never ending work day. And, we don't know how long we're going to be home. And I don't think anybody wants to have a 2-week, 3-week, 4-week work day. And, I think you're so right. I think it's so important to cut that balance between work and life and those kinds of things. So, one thing also I think is great is getting dressed and getting up and taking your shower in the morning, doing those kinds of things. I think I think everyone kind of knows, you hear the same things: eat positive, good food, work out, exercise, all those kinds of things. So for me, I just recently read Atomic Habits. Have you ever read that book?
No.
So it's an excellent book. And what it talks about is basically, I think a big takeaway from that is, maybe you're not a super morning person, or your schedule's off a little bit, or you're not good with regimented at 9 o'clock. I'm going to work out at 9:30. I'm going to eat at 10 o'clock. It's hard to do that, especially with everything that's going on. But I think what's more important is having these habits where it's like, okay, when I wake up, I make my coffee. And then just as a habit, after I make my coffee, I work out. As a habit, after I work out, I take a shower, so on and so forth. So, you know what? Say you wake up a little bit later than you planned because and listen, some people are out of jobs right now and have worked their entire lives and they're shell shocked right now. So I think that might be a good tip is listen, even if you don't have to go to work, the morning routine is so important. Get up, if you get up late, okay, but start your habits and let them run on one to another, onto another, onto another.
That also that brings up a good point too, Pete, is that again, there's some people that are really fortunate that can work from home, and it's when I see people, and I get it. I mean, everybody is different, but when I see people complaining that they're home working, I want them to just challenge themselves to think about somebody would give a lot to have an income right now
Right.
that maybe doesn't have the opportunity to. And it's not like you could just go and get a job right now. Be grateful for what you do have, and not to sound all like kumbaya about it. Whatever word you want to replace, if grateful is not something that you're familiar with, just think about how fortunate you are that your job allowed you to be home and that you can still do the things that you need to do with being home. And you have a choice of how we all have a choice of how we react to circumstances. We don't have a choice of the matter sometimes, but how you react to it is going to be different. And I definitely want to check out that book. Because for me, one thing that I've learned is I used to make this massive to-do list.
Yeah.
And it was personal and business. And at some point, both of them started to kind of mesh together. And I didn't have that like fine line of, what's Alessia, what's business, and then what's all the stuff that falls in the in-between, and family and friends and all that. And so what I started to do, so if you work from home, or if you have a business, or if you aren't working right now and there are things that you want to do that you just didn't have a chance to do before, this is a really great exercise, is make a list of all the things you want to do tomorrow, the night before, and block off the time. So I will say, okay, if I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, let's just say it takes me a half hour to wake up, drink my water, do all of that. Well, then I'm working out from 6:30 to 7:30. And then I'm showering from 7 to 7:30. And then I'm going to make breakfast from 7:30 to 8:30. So that way I don't have just this laundry list of things to do that will never get done because I don't know how long each of those things are going to take me.
Right.
I split it up by time with leaving myself some breaks, and you'll be surprised at maybe there's 11 things on your list, but you can only get to 6 before it's midnight.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I can't keep going. Like I need to eventually sleep, although sometimes it's questionable, but it's just, that has helped me tremendously. And I'll be honest, I don't do it every day, but
Right.
I try to do it. I try to remind myself, like, let me do this before I go to bed. I actually sleep so much better. And like Mike makes fun of me because I'm like, I got to tell you what I'm doing tomorrow. He's like, okay, tell me. And I just have to like get it out there. And then I'm like, okay, I can go to bed knowing I have a purpose of waking up tomorrow and like what I'm going to do. And so it's so helpful.
And you have clarity, right? You get all of that out of your head. You're okay. When I wake up, I'm on autopilot. I'm just going, and I've already got it all laid out. I mean, I've read a lot of books on this topic because, full disclosure, I am not a morning person. It is something that I've struggled with for a long time. But I've learned that, the morning success starts the night before, 100%. I think that's super important.
Pete, a good book is The Miracle Morning.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's
Super
changed my life.
simple, but yeah.
Changed my life. Absolutely. And something else that I struggle with is, I'll set up this great routine. I know exactly I'm going to crush it and I'll hit it for, a couple of days, maybe a week, and then I'll miss one day. And then that'll throw me right off. What are some things you do? And we're talking a lot about routines, but that kind of plays into feeling down, right? You have this big list and it's overwhelming. You're not getting what you want done. So a little bit of feeling down. And so what do you do, for yourself when you are starting to kind of feel down to pull yourself back up and just hit it again?
Yeah. Your mind is a muscle, and it takes practice, and it takes consistency, and it takes a little bit of perseverance, and it takes some patience. But when you can start to practice acknowledging, like, and I've had people say this to me all the time, and I just and I'll share this too if you want, and not to praise myself, but anybody out there that is an optimist. And it's not always easy being an optimist because you have people that one want to bring you down. And two, everyone thinks that it's really easy to be that way. And it takes a lot of work in the beginning. But when you start to build up that muscle, it becomes easier. It's like muscle memory, right? Like you could, if you're an avid athlete all through high school and then college comes, you do nothing for 4 years and you start to get back into it, the beginning of that routine feels a little bit awkward and you feel like a little like, oh God, I can't believe I let myself go this far. But your muscle does have a memory and you will bounce back.
Right.
And the more you keep consistently doing that, the more that it's going to build and grow. But for someone who just hasn't necessarily experienced that yet, it really is just taking small chunks of things that you can do and being consistent versus trying to like dive in head first, like light your ass on fire, like motivate yourself. Because what I see a lot of, especially in my industry, because it's ordinary people
Down.
who want to be entrepreneurs, right? So they're like, oh my God, this is so great. And this is so easy and it's great. And then crash.
Right.
And yeah, if you pick yourself back up from that crash, but when you crash and burn so many times, at some point you're like, frig this, like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. But if you can just keep it where it's just a little bit more level and you look at it from a bigger picture, you'll see that you are actually progressing. But if you zoom in, it's just like it's a lot of up and downs. So something that I do is, first of all, and this is something that I've struggled with, is I don't know what my hobbies are necessarily, because a lot of my hobbies tie into like my business. I love to cook healthy and I love to try new recipes, which is kind of all part of what I do. But do something that is unrelated to whatever it is that you're like struggling with. Just do something unrelated to that first to get yourself in a better mindset. Like do something you're really good at. I love to cook. I love all that. I'm like, I know that I'm good at it. I know that it's fun for me. And if I could just take my mind away from what's pulling me down, let me do that first. Again, that might not work for everybody, but this is what works for me. And then I kind of go back into what I was doing with a fresh mindset. And I just tell myself, let me just focus on the work and the activity, unattach myself from the outcome. Like I go to the gym because I know that it's healthy for me. It makes me feel good. If I get a set of abs from it, great, but I know that's not going to happen initially. So I don't go to the gym looking for a six pack, right? I'm unattaching myself from the outcome. But if I go consistently, 5 days a week for 6 days, and I'm working on building a six pack, which I'm not, but saying, don't have any expectations here. I'll start to see those results, but I wasn't attached to them when I went to the gym. So
Right.
it should be the same thing with work or whatever your to-do list is. Don't be attached to the result. Focus on the work that you need to do to get the result and then just let it go.
Right.
And move on to something else.
And when you start getting overwhelmed, you just say, okay, this isn't going anywhere. I'm going to go do something completely different and then come back to it.
You have to do that.
Right.
Otherwise,
and I mean, for me, one thing that I've, kind of, I struggle with personally is, I set these expectations on myself. I set this great plan out, and then, you start hitting a wall or you miss a day, and then you just get totally discouraged. And I love working out because it is a great analogy, because in order to get to your goals and maintain it's consistency. It's every single day. But I'll miss a day, right? So let's use again, exercise an example. I want to work out every day for 30 days. Okay. I go, I miss a day, and now I'm completely off. Now I'm not even trying. And then it's 2 days, and then it's 3 days, and then it's 4 days. So what I've tried to do, or what I've intended to do and implement, is don't miss more than 2 days. If you miss it, and don't be so hard on yourself. I had a meeting a couple weeks ago that I took away, and listen, life is not easy. Challenges occur, and you have to give yourself a break. You have to push yourself to get back on. But look, nobody's perfect 100% of the time. You're human. Take it easy. If you get to 3 days, and then in that same example, 30 days straight of working out, you get to 2 days and then you miss a day. Well, you still got 2 days of working out. So that's great. So take the day off, get back onto it, start.
Uh-oh. You froze, Pete. Oh no. We were doing so good.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just think it's so important to give yourself a break. You know, don't be so hard on yourself. If you showed like 90% of the job is just showing up, no matter what it is just getting there. So I think that's so important. You know, I think that's a lot of the questions I had for you. I mean, the last one I have here is biggest tips for working from home, but I think we really kind of covered that. So tell me a little bit, because we talked a little bit about this. What about the people who are home right now? They've got it pretty much covered. Everything is in pretty good shape, and they want to help other people. You know, because I know you feel that way. I feel that way a little bit. What do you have to say to that?
Sure. So that's how I was kind of feeling the beginning of this week when people would ask me like, oh my God, this is so real. I can't believe this is happening. How are you doing? And there was a part of me that was like, do I tell them that I'm doing okay? Or do I lower like myself and be like, oh yeah, I know. Right. And that's again, like that whole optimism thing is sometimes it can make somebody feel like, oh my God, are they going to think that I'm above them for feeling this way? But no, I could be the light at the end of the tunnel and showing them like, hey, we're good. We got this. So there was a part of me that was like, what can I use this like strength for? And how else can I help? Right. Like what can I use? And it's going to be different for everybody. So the company that I'm a consultant with is a health and wellness company. So again, we have like non-perishable foods and vegan proteins and things like that. And I said, okay, who could use that right now? Like, who can I maybe donate that stuff to? Or how can I help people get these? They're running to food stores, ordering on Amazon. Stuff isn't coming until the end of April for them. And so my team and I put together a donation for nurses, hospital staff, whoever at the hospitals, where if somebody donated $25, that would be a care kit for somebody at the hospital. So right now I'm working with somebody at Hackensack Hospital in Hackensack, obviously. And then I live down in Red Bank and we live across the street from a hospital. So no brainer, obviously working with them. They're also a Hackensack Meridian like branch called Riverview. Right. And so if you donate $25, they can Venmo me. That covers some protein bars, some energy, like healthy energy, vitamin drinks for them, hydration. And where this came from was somebody had shared an article with me of just like a nurse that shared what their day looked like, and they're not eating and they're not drinking enough water and they don't necessarily have the time to run even to the vending machine to grab something. And so I'm like, oh, no brainer. I could use the resources that I have, the community that I have, and then get this over to them. But tap into what you already know. Like this shouldn't be a challenge for you if you already have resources. A friend of mine has friends who are seamstresses and they're making masks, right? Like tap into those resources that you have. If you feel like you have the ability to give back, if you're struggling yourself, take care of you first and foremost. You're going to get super overwhelmed and just not feel good about what you're doing. That's number one. And if you feel good and you're home and this is a break that maybe you needed, just staying home is doing your part. It really, really is. Because it's not easy. It's not like you want to go out. I mean, Red Bank is on like serious lockdown. There's nobody in the streets. So for us, it's a little bit easy because there's not even temptation there. But, and just remind yourself like, hey, I'm doing my part. Like I'm staying home where we could be doing things that probably shouldn't be happening. But tap into the resources that you have and see how you can give back, or just, again, it's hard to volunteer, things like that at this time, just because of social distancing, but, and just doing things like this. If you're feeling really good, put that out there. People need to hear, like you said, the glass, like the news and all of that is that dirty water, and it's inevitable. Almost you can't even, I had like Google just pinging me and I had to turn off the notifications because it was like, if I want to know information, I'll find it myself.
Right.
But start to fill your glass with clean water and then pour into other people's glasses if you feel like you can.
Right. And so for me, and I love that you brought up the news because, I want to know what's going on. Don't get me wrong. So I've decided what I'll do is when I can only watch the news if I'm exercising while I'm watching the news, or I have something positive to do right after that. So whatever that looks like to you. Read a good book or listen to some good music and dance, whatever it is, because I think it's so easy to get caught up. And, I stole this from someone else online, but social media distancing, turn off those notifications. Like you said, if you want the information, you can find it. But I know for me, I go to my phone because, obviously I do a lot of business on Facebook and things like that. So all the time, like clockwork, I'll go to Facebook to go post something or do whatever it is. And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm just aimlessly scrolling through Facebook. So try to protect yourself, turn off notifications, uninstall the app if you have to, those kinds of things. And I love what you said too, because I think people think, how can I help on this great big scale and affect so many people? When in reality, if you look within yourself and your, we call it sphere of influence or circle of influence, and you reach out to the people that I mean, I think, so for an example, for me, I've been doing these kinds of videos and stuff for so long. I know the technology. I know how to handle this stuff. So there's agents in my office who I'm trying to help them through this. This is how you do a video presentation. This is how you get on Zoom. And I'll tell you, I was joking. I had a meeting this morning. A woman in our group who, I feel like a month ago couldn't figure out how to download an app. And today she's given an admin advice on how to change the screens on Zoom meetings. So, and that's another thing I think is, it's kind of twofold. The silver lining, like you said, we've kind of been on this edge of technology. Obviously it's very active in our lives, but business is still done on a face-to-face, and it always will be. But we've seen this push into technology, things that we never thought were really ever going to get there, or that's years down the road. We just fast forwarded, 5 to 10 years as far as that's concerned. And we're going to see some big changes coming forward. And truthfully, I'm excited about it.
I have to agree with you that, again, and because Pete, we do that mindset work ourselves, it is almost automatic for us to think that way. And it pains me when I see people being like, oh my God, and it doesn't mean that you can't have a moment. I've had scary moments. I mean, I have family in Italy. They're all great. Everyone is safe and good, but it's very emotional to hear what's going on there. And then knowing that could be our future here, of course, but I try not to fester on that.
Right.
And again, you can have your moments. It's okay to feel sad or, whatever it might be. But I think because we've done this work, right, that preparing for impact, that my mind is already when this is over, so much is going to be different.
Yeah, it's so true. That's kind of, and you're kind of having conversations with people and you're like you said before, did I just come off like I was being, and you feel like you can see the forest between the trees. And I think that that's a great thing to do, truthfully, because I think it's very easy right now, right, Alessia? If you wanted to go have a negative gloom and doom conversation with somebody, you could find somebody, no problem.
It's so easy. It's contagious. So.
And I think that's great. And I think that's, that's why I brought you on today, was because I know that you are that person that if somebody was having a hard time, I could say, listen, call Alessia. I guarantee you're going to think you can run through a wall when you finish a 20-minute conversation with her. Because I've seen it, and I'm not, I've seen it. I've heard it. I think everything you're doing is great. So, and I think it's also a good point too, is to remember, yes, Alessia does get down at times, and there are those moments of panic and worry, and we're human, and I absolutely have them too. But I think, like you said, and kind of what our point here is take it easy on yourself when you fail, because you're making the right efforts. So don't be so hard on yourself, and keep exercising that muscle and keep filling that glass with clean water, because eventually it's going to flush out all the negative stuff.
Absolutely. Pete, thank you so much. And the other thing too is that doing things like this just fuels it even more, right? Yeah. We are bouncing off of each other, and just knowing somebody hopefully will take something from this. I actually have a question for you, and because I want to share this on my Facebook as well. So yeah, for anybody who maybe was in the process of home buying, mortgage, all of that, what has that been looking like for people that maybe were already in the process? If they haven't started looking yet, it's going to get delayed, but just people that were in the weeds of this.
Right.
Because our age, I think there's a lot of people that are at that stage in their life.
Okay. So that's a great question. And truthfully, I could go on for hours. So I'll just kind of give the abbreviated version. And I do have some videos on here is for specific topics. So if you want to dig in a little bit deeper, basically mortgage rates have kind of maintained that 3.5 to 4%. So that's still historically low. So that's good. We could see them dip, we could see them come up. But more specifically, if you were under contract on a property right now, the state is doing everything they can to get you through to the closing table. We've had some challenges. The bulk of them were last week because these townships were shutting down. They weren't doing inspections. Everyone was adjusting on the fly. A lot of towns have made adjustments, so now we can still get to the closing table. Appraisers are still working on a limited capacity, home inspectors, realtors. So that's where there's a gray area as far as what we can do and what we can't do. It wasn't really specific. Open houses are, of course, shut down. But as far as going out and showing houses, it's kind of been left on our shoulders. So if you wanted to go out and aggressively look for a home right now, you could find an agent to do it. I'm not that agent because, listen, when everything's clear, I'll run through a wall to find you a house. Right now, I just don't think it's a good idea. So we've really transitioned to and kind of talking about, I don't know if you saw my post. I said, I feel like I've been training for this my whole life as far as the entire industry going digital. So we're doing what I'm doing. My approach is just, if you have because real estate doesn't stop, right? Is it essential? Is it not essential? Well, if you're just looking to, get a bigger house or whatever it is, I consider that non-essential. I have a client right now who's carrying 2 mortgages if we don't get his property sold. So that on top of financial distress, that's an essential, in my opinion, that's essential. So what I'm doing is doing completely virtual. Nobody can come out and see the house in person. You'll have a video, you'll have photos, you'll have actual virtual walkthrough. If you make an offer, you'll have 3 days to come out and see the property. If it's not what you thought, fine, you cancel, no penalty. That's my way to continue to help clients, but not put anybody else at risk, and continue the spread of this virus, frankly. So, and then I think what I would say to somebody who was thinking of buying or selling, in the next couple of months, the spring market, whatever it is, right now, what you should be working on if you were looking to buy, you should be checking your credit. You should be saving money, obviously, and just researching everything that's involved with the buying process, which obviously I can help with. And then if you're selling, I think just start looking around your house. Start doing those things that, paint that wall, whatever it is, within, don't go fight everyone at Lowe's for paint, but, do what you can to start prepping your house, start cleaning out shelves, start putting things in boxes that are seasonal and maybe you don't use every day. So anyway, I'm trying not to run on too long, but if anybody has more detail, did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's so helpful. Yeah, exactly.
So, and I appreciate you asking that. Is there any, as we're kind of, we're up against it here, any final thoughts as far as, anything else you want to put out there and just kind of talk about?
Just, if you feel like you need an ear or a reach out or something, I think it's safe to say you could reach out to either of us. It's not awkward if people reach out to me all the time, just being like, hey, no, this is so weird. It's not. I'm asking you to. And just do what you can. And I think even just your analogy of just, if let's just say you're selling your house, do the things you can do, like work in the places you can, focus on what you can do versus all the things you can't do right now. And if you just apply that to everything in your life, you'll feel a little bit less, pressure, anxiety, stress, whatever it might be. And it's Friday. Regardless of if it feels like it or not, it is Friday. So make the best of your Friday.
I got a virtual happy hour at 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That for sure. So Alessia, I just want to say, I knew that you were the right person to bring on this, and you certainly proved it and knocked it out of the park. So thank you so much. When we post this later, we'll have our contact information on there. So like Alessia said, if anybody needs an ear or anything like that we can do to help you, we are here. So again, Alessia, thank you so much.
Thank